I'm your host, Fernando Lopes, and today I have the honor and the privilege of interviewing and chatting with Adal Bermann, who helps business owners find more clients through technology and genuine communication. Adal, so excited to have you here on the show today. Welcome. How are you?
Fernando, it's such a pleasure and an honor. I'm feeling amazing today. I have taken good care of myself and am both excited, pleased, and confident about everything that's going on. And I'm happy to share more about that throughout the conversation. But it is a very beautiful day already for me.
Amazing. And for to give a little bit of a perspective on Adele and I meeting, we met a couple of times, and then uh, in throughout, what was it? Acro yoga, fire spinning, uh, when drumming circle, and then someone in business said, "Hey, you got to meet Adele and do business with Adele." And Adele, and then someone said the same thing to Adele. And then when we met on Zoom, we're like, "Hey, we already know each other."
Yeah, I love how we had already connected in the world outside of business by doing the hobbies and activities that nourish us and are a big part of how we show up in the world. And then how we show up in business also made it obvious to people that we have a lot in common and that they wanted to connect us without knowing that we were already in the same spheres together. And it's been great to get to know you better and to participate in a lot of intimate moments, both in your lives and mine. So I'm really grateful for this.
Yeah, amazing. The parties, yeah, the get-togethers. It's been really cool. And one thing that I've noticed that when people, and I've heard this from others too, is how genuine and loving and fun you are. And I just want to acknowledge you for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And that's honestly a big part of what I'm excited to talk about today. I think that so many people are putting on a face and an armor when they enter the arena of business. And I think that ultimately, even though that's what was expected in the last few decades, it's quickly becoming more of a liability and something that's getting in the way of human connection, which is what so many people value today.
And in your opinion, actually, before we go there, tell us a little bit about what happened that you decided to then do what you do today, and what was the turning point? Um, is this something that was happening in the marketplace that you were not happy with? Something through meditation? What happened that you decided to become who you've become and start bringing the solutions that you have brought to businesses?
How much time do you have? That's a super good question.
We
There
have
definitely have been a few pivoting points. There have been some moments where I can say that really was a turning point in my life that brought me to where I am today. To give a little bit of context, I came from a family where things were rather challenging. My parents did not show up in the world in a way that was very harmonious with the economy. In fact, they were very much more of in a hippies fighting the system type of paradigm. So I grew up in a world of people who really wanted a deeper connection with a higher power, a higher truth, but who also had very much of an angry, rebellious attitude towards society. And as a child, I saw that, and I made a decision very early on in my life that I actually love society and I want to contribute to it. And I want to secure a spot in the world that is stable and harmonious with the systems that are in place versus trying to fight an enemy that I consider to actually be my friend. And so in 2009, I established myself as a humble freelancer living in San Francisco, building websites for pretty much any small business that needed help with getting their online presence going. And because of the way that I set a high bar in everything that I do and everything that I touch, I quickly built a reputation in the local business community, specifically in the circles of Business Network International in San Francisco, as the go-to person if you want good value on the highest quality for WordPress development. So that was definitely a marking point, was when I established that business. And things grew rather gradually from there, just from hard work and not much marketing at all, actually. But what happened was that eventually I did start getting connected with larger organizations and ultimately got into a situation where I was even getting paid $800 an hour by one of the richest companies in the world, McKesson, which is a pharmaceutical company. And they were paying me to put together a system that worked extremely well for their needs. But I realized that it was not giving me a sense of purpose because I did not feel like what I was contributing to was making the type of difference in the world that I wanted to make. And so, in full honesty, I had a little bit of what I call the quarter life crisis. I decided to move out of the city of San Francisco. I sold my business. I I left the community that I had there. I left a relationship, and I moved into a very alternative lifestyle, pursuing rock climbing as my main passion. It was starting to get more popular. This is in 2015, and I invested my life into that. I ended up climbing some of the most beautiful cliffs in California, like El Capitan in Yosemite, the Half Dome, the Mount Whitney's Full Face, and many other around the world, and had a great run with that. And then in 2017 to 2019, I started transitioning into wanting to come back into business, but this time with more intention. And it was at that time when I decided that I wanted to participate in the movement towards more life coaching and more people actually making it their profession to help heal what I consider to be a communal archetypal trauma from hundreds and thousands of years of the history that we have come from. I think it's very beautiful that there are so many people who, beyond just wanting to be therapists, actually want to help heal that trauma and help everyone live their highest life of self-expression and self-realization. So that was one of the major turning points, was when I made that decision.
Wonderful. When you said El Capitan, I'm like, what? That's it reminded me of a documentary that I have not watched but have heard. So you climbed that huge wall, huge mountain. Like you did.
Yeah, I climbed the nose of El Capitan. I climbed the west face of El Capitan. I've
Wow.
climbed the south face of the Washington Column. I've climbed pretty much all of the cathedral columns in Yosemite. I've climbed the sheer southeast face of the Half Dome. I've climbed the south face of Mount Conness. I've climbed the east face, the full, well, it's not called the east face of Yosemite because that is actually a much easier climb. But there's one that goes literally from the very base. It's a 2,000-foot vertical climb to the summit of the tallest mountain in the country. And those are just some of the ones that are easier to share for the public because they're easily recognizable. It's definitely been a huge part of my life. And if I may, I'd love to share that for me, the meaning of climbing is actually a very spiritual one. It's a space in which I can set forth to take upon a challenge that originally feels close to impossible. Especially before I started climbing those big walls, I would look at them and be like, dude, does anyone actually climb that? That's ridiculous. That looks impossible. How does anyone do that? So taking on that challenge of something that feels impossible and eventually getting into situations where you're halfway through and you reach something that might feel impossible in that moment and might even feel life-threatening in some cases, and being able to pause and breathe in the most challenging situations that pretty much any human can be exposed to, and to find that calmness and find that confidence to believe in yourself and keep pushing through and get to the other side. And then when you get to the other side, not only you're proud of yourself, but you also go from a state of pain, fear, and absolute doubt to a place of simply celebration and pleasure and joy. And for me, that is such a fast metaphor for life. So much of life and business and anything that we do in this life is very much being confronted with situations that feel overwhelming to us and actually having the courage to persist and push through and believe in yourself and get to the other side, standing proud of what you've done, and in a beautiful place, an absolutely gorgeous, stunning place where you have a vantage over the world that few others have enjoyed. I am so grateful for everything that for everything that climbing has taught me in life, and I continue to pursue it. This coming weekend, I'm heading out to Joshua Tree and very excited to get together with some friends and do some slightly less intense adventures this specific weekend that will, help train for others.
Oh, wonderful. I gotta play. So when I lived in San Francisco, I joined the climbing gym there in the Mission.
Oh, I
And
love that one. Mission Cliffs.
Mission Cliffs, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I started.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
that's cool. Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
it's a great spot. What a great community.
Yeah, totally. And I was actually moving some stuff yesterday, and I saw my climbing shoes. I'm thinking, man, I haven't used this in a few years. I gotta put them to use. They're almost new. They've only been indoors, and you talked about Half Dome, and man, Half Dome. Me and my buddy, we climbed Half Dome, and neither of us knew that we needed to be prepared. And we climbed, where most people climb.
The
Uh,
hike with the cables on the backside.
the cables, yes. So we thought about, hey, yeah, let's do this hike. I remember, I want to remember if it was a 3 hour hike or 4 hour hike. Um, but we did it, and then when we got to the bottom of Half Dome, starting to see the cables, two people came down and they said, hey, do you guys have gloves? And we looked at each other like, no, we don't have gloves. What for? Oh, you need gloves for the cables. Like, and they're here, and they gave us their gloves.
Oh, yeah,
So
that's
we
beautiful. They really wanted you to have a good experience, and they were looking out for you.
absolutely, man. So we climbed, and we had climbed the day before a different hike, and there in that region. Is that Yellowstone?
Yosemite.
Yosemite, yeah, Yosemite. And then so we're a little tired from the day before, and we're climbing, and man, the winds were like fast, bro.
Mm,
The
mhm.
wind, and so we make to the top, and I started crying because there were a few times during the hike up where my legs were like almost like too tired. And it was like, wow, this is more than I thought. This is a lot of effort, a lot of focus. So got to the summit, start pouring my heart out, going, yes, this is amazing. I almost, slipped a couple times, and super slippery. The rock, for those of you listening, watching, have
Extremely.
extremely slippery rock. And I'm like, okay, time to go down. And we timed not so well going down, so we only had like 2 hours of daylight. So we decided to run down. So after we got through the rock,
Mm.
to land, we're like, we need to like hurry to get the sun down. And going, we started running down like two crazy guys. And then I started screaming to my buddy. He had not seen what was in front of him, and it was a huge bear. And I screamed,
Mm.
bear, bear, bear. And then finally he stopped, man. He saw it. And then he started doing his thing, to scare the bear, and hope. And good thing that he knew, he had some training of how to react.
Perfect. Yeah.
But man, it felt to me that afternoon, and we were, we went around the bear. We got to the campsite. We were safe. But that day, man, I felt like I came close to dying twice. First climbing and falling off, and then a bear. So it was
Mm.
one of the greatest days of my life when it comes to like really taking lessons of preparation and to just going for it and being an adventurous of life, and how to react, and having the mindset of what now? Like, or is it my time? Have I done everything that I've done in my life? So, but
I
I just wanted to share that.
I
Back to
loved how
you.
you phrased that at the end, that it's both the need to prepare and when it's the time to go for it. Those are such big lessons because some people will just go for it, but they don't prepare. And at the end of the day, you cannot accomplish great things if you don't take time to plan, prepare, and train. And at the same time, you can do all the planning and preparation and training in the world. If you are not ready to just go for it when it's the right time, you can definitely just stay in place and miss your spot. So I'm glad that you had that experience on the Half Dome. I think in a certain way, you experienced a lot of the same emotions that I experienced in that space. I don't know if you walked over to the edge and looked down in that
Yeah.
vertical section when you were at the top.
Yes.
So that's the way that I went up that vertical
Wow.
section. And it was definitely that specific climb for me was emotionally a little bit more difficult because I had not trained and prepared as much prior to that specific climb. And so I was a little tired, and we ended up also making a slight technical mistake where rather than bringing one heavy bag that we hauled, we brought one smaller bag to haul and then one smaller bag also to carry. And climbing with that bag was quite difficult, actually. And in retrospect, I really wish that we had just brought one big haul bag. But when we got to the top, and obviously it's an incredible adventure all the way up. There's that ledge that you walk across that Alex Honnold is famous for pausing on because he had done it without a rope, which is pretty wild to think
Wow.
about. And then when we finally got to the top at the summit, and we got there a little bit late, so the vast majority of all the hikers had gone, and we got to enjoy the sunset and just basking in the beauty of the space and how much challenge we took upon to get there was a beautiful moment. And then similarly, we ended up jogging down in record time. I think we got from the summit back down to the pizza spot in about 3 hours before it closed because we really wanted that pizza that we had deserved. And so we ordered a Half Dome pizza over at the Yosemite Pizza Shop. It was a good memory.
Nice.
Very nice.
Wow. It's wonderful. Man, bringing back good memories. Shout
Well, I
out to
did.
my buddy Chuck. I'm gonna send this episode to him for him to listen because we had such a great time that day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Those memories form straight bonds. And I wanted to also share that to finish answering your previous question, after that phase in my life where I was transitioning from rock climbing into wanting to scale my business, I put together a lot of procedures and built up more of a productized service to serve people who are newer in business and helping them get their brands figured out, really going through proper brand therapy. And then after the brand therapy is completed and we know exactly why they're doing what they're doing and what drives them, and we can communicate a message that is actually appealing to their audience, moving that into visuals and websites and giving them a CRM with all of the business functionality that they need to run their business. I got into a position where I had the staff, I had the team, right? I had the process to deliver this to a large amount of people, but I only knew the old methods of marketing that I had done in the past. So networking, which has always yielded results, obviously, when you're a good person and you show up in person, it does draw people to you, and eventually some of those people are a good fit. But then the other things that I attempted using were so disappointing. I built funnels and advertised them on Google, advertised them on Facebook, promoted posts on Instagram, did some YouTube advertising, tried mass emailing. And ultimately, I was very disappointed by the results. The return on investment that I got from most of those attempts was rather poor. And for a business that is very much centered around building a strong relationship with clients that you care to work with, the methodology of ads leading to funnels can work in some cases, but oftentimes is very challenging. And one of the major transitions that brought me to do what I do today was specifically that challenge, was encountering the disappointment of the return on investment that I was getting from those methods, and discovering that on LinkedIn, however, by showing up in a very genuine way and connecting with people on a personal level, I was actually able to book a huge amount of appointments with exactly my target audience. So what would previously take weeks or months of planning to build funnels and then thousands of dollars literally in paid ads, I was able to skip entirely that process and get directly in touch with just the right people. And that lesson of learning a new method that works better was one of the biggest transitions in my career, and has led to forming Warm Leads today, which is the agency that I'm currently operating in as my main focus, which helps connect the right people on LinkedIn.
Wow, that's powerful. Something that came from hours. I can't even imagine how many hours you spent building funnels, then ads, testing ads, more money, more investments, looking at the results. Um, and so the, for instance, you introduced me to now a new friend, Dr. Michael Time.
Yes, I'm so glad you connected.
Yeah, right. So thanks for the warm introduction. Um, and what are some so the your way of being, what I'm experiencing in this conversation is that you change your way of being. You were doing things in certain ways. You had a certain identity, and that identity shift from ads, from funnels, to what you're doing now with genuine communication using LinkedIn.
Mhm.
For business owners that want the same, what would you say to them can be something that worked for you that they could do, try on for themselves as an identity shift, so they can to, after, of course, chatting with you and having a conversation with you about working together, having an identity where business leads are genuine, they are organic, and leads to a long-term relationship.
Yeah, I love how you phrase that. That you're not asking for a technical tactic, but asking actually, what is the identity shift behind that? So one of my greatest beliefs is that everything starts with a conversation. Robert Kiyosaki is well known for his quote that rich people build networks while everyone else is trained to look for work. And I feel like in the world of business, this applies a lot as well. It's not just a distinction between entrepreneurs who build networks and employees who look for jobs. It's actually a bigger shift of mindset than that. It's the difference between seeing people as the number that they represent, whether it's client number 50, or if it's $70 or $7,000 or $7 million of income. Seeing people as numbers is very much of what is being pushed in a lot of marketing tactics today. The idea of building a funnel, and if you build the right thing, if you build it, they will come, and we can influence them to make a decision without having to have a high touch, essentially. The shift that I'm proposing that works in many cases is to refocus on the conversation, refocus on the human connection. When you are able to actually connect with someone on a human level, they're never going to stand you up and not show up at an appointment. They're never going to ghost you, right? They won't treat you as a number if you don't treat them as a number. Back in the 50s, I think it became very popular for a voice like this to come and tell you that you are making the right decision. And at that time, that was very novel. And it actually grew into mainstream culture to become a symbol of something that represents a well-established, trustworthy company. Oh, wow. That company has the means to actually have a voice actor who sounds like that, who dresses like that, to put out a commercial that looks like that, to have a logo like that. And branding is still absolutely critical, but I think the main shift that we are seeing in the world today is that many people are tired of being targeted. They're tired of people just testing something at them and really feeling like a pawn in the game that someone else is playing for their own benefit. And so the identity shift is moving away from a business maverick, just a successful entrepreneur, and moving into the identity of a contributor, of someone who actually cares to build a proper network of people, cares to actually treat that network like family, and to build relationships that are lasting. And so obviously, we do not have the capacity to do that with an unlimited amount of people, because we ourselves have limited time and space in this world, in this life, and there are only 24 hours in a day. And so the work that I do is helping people really express the deepest purpose and the deepest intentions behind what they do, and then amplify that. and using technology to amplify the genuine intentions and skip the most painful part of prospecting, which is essentially the knocking on doors. So whether you're cold calling, whether you're networking, whether you're reaching out to people on LinkedIn, the hardest part is having to put out that volume and knocking on every door and see which door opens. And so the technology is the part, and that's really the inhumane part of it, right? That's the part where you feel like a number. You don't feel like you're honoring your human identity. And so that's why that is the part that we delegate to a robot, essentially, where we take the messaging that we help our clients express, and then we amplify that and we send it out to exactly the right people. And then from there, the people who are interested and who do respond and step up, we either train our clients on how they continue those conversations and take it from a conversation to potentially a client, or for some of our other clients, we actually have our own staff that collaborates very closely with our clients and will continue those conversations past the initial touch into a pre-qualification, essentially, to understand whether this person that we've engaged in conversation is going to be a good fit for the business, and then books that appointment for our client so that they can really just do what most entrepreneurs and most sales professionals love most, which is actually get on a call with someone who has already shown interest and has already committed to speaking with them.
Wow, that's huge. It's like having a department in their company, but they didn't have to hire each person in the department or create a system.
Exactly. So we become that department for the clients that we work with, and it really allows them to refocus on what they're doing versus get distracted by the ridiculous amount of information, tools, and learning that is required in order to achieve what seems like a rather simple thing, which is just having a conversation with someone who is interested in what you're doing and is a good fit.
Wonderful. You touched a little bit on your why you're doing what you're doing, when you shared about how you're doing well in San Francisco and you decided to do something different. You were a website WordPress expert, is that?
Correct. I was a front and back end developer, building all sorts of custom solutions for a large variety of businesses.
And let's say it's 10 years from now, and all of your dreams and goals and visions have come to pass. And it's like even better than you imagined. What's happening? It's 2032. What's
Mm,
happening in your business, in your life, the lives of the clients that came into your life? Can you paint the picture of,
absolutely.
yeah?
Absolutely. There are a lot of things driving me, and ultimately, one of the best ways that I can express it is that I feel like in the world there is a line. Above that line, there is the empowered individual who is pursuing their passion, who is inspired, and who is making the world a more beautiful place and feeling amazing about doing that. And below the line, there is fear, there is obligation, there is compliance, and there is ultimately an absence of hope and empowerment. There is a lot of paralysis. What I love to do is to help empower those individuals who are inspired to raise the bar for humanity, to make a difference in the world. What really, really gets me going is knowing that my clients are living out their dream. And sometimes living out that dream does mean some compromise, does mean using the conversations that we start to better understand what the needs of others are. But ultimately, I know that whether it's a more established business that has already figured out how they can provide value and they just need us to start conversations and book appointments, or whether it's a newer company where it's someone who's in that dream phase and they really want to make an impact on the world, in all cases, it's when we empower our clients to actually contribute to the lives of others and bring value to the world that they experience the most success, the most satisfaction, and the most abundance. And for me, the abundance that I want to generate on a personal level is very much driven by a desire to have a beautiful home in this community where I live and to be able to share that home not only with my partner and our children, but also with my community, with the people that we love in common, people like you, being able to hold space for the beautiful people who want to be above the line, who are above the line, who are bringing beauty and inspiration to the world to do more of what they do. And that really is, in summary, my greatest dream. And of course, it will involve also not only leading people in our company into helping the many other people that we help as our clients so that they themselves can have an impact in the lives of others through the services that they do, but also selfishly for me to be able to pursue other creative pursuits that are very important to me. I am a patent pending inventor of a chiropractic massage table that has an incredible impact on anyone experiencing back pain, which is pretty much everyone. Yep, there we go.
I
Lifting
have
some.
I've experienced it. It was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. And there are other ways in which I find to contribute. Just this past weekend, I was facilitating breath work for a group of 20 people. And the entire weekend, people came up to me afterwards and were telling me how much of an impact that experience had on their entire weekend. And ultimately, what really matters to me is knowing that the work that I am doing, the work that I am leading with my team, and everything is adding up to the entire world having a better experience and being more beautiful. And that includes helping save nature, reducing waste, and just really empowering people.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Adal. The question I have for you is, if you could have any dinner guest, whether dead or alive, who would you have as a dinner guest and why?
Hmm. Hands down, without hesitation, Richard Branson would be right here at my dinner table as soon as I could have him. I have followed that man for many years. And whereas I was younger, I did not actually have heroes that I identified as people I could look up to. Once I learned the story of that man, I immediately identified that he is someone who inspires me. Richard Branson, has continually pursued enterprises that actually bring him passion and inspiration. And he has been one of the best entrepreneurs in the world at not making it about him. Even though in the press, it's often about him and jumping off a cliff or some fun thing that he did, he's very clear about the fact that he is really only doing that to draw attention to the brand in order to promote the ideas. But what really strikes me about that man is that he is very good at saying, I can't do this on my own. I don't know how this is done. I need your help. I'm dyslexic. I can't even read this report. Can you rewrite that in 3 lines for me to make it simpler? And the way in which he brings playfulness, joy, and a genuine desire to be the best of the best at whatever it is that the team is doing, and bringing people together for a common cause, to me is one of the most inspiring things that I've witnessed during my life. And there are a lot of other great men and women in history, but he is definitely one that I would love to have some time with and get to soak in some of his beautiful energy.
Oh wow, I love that. I love. I think someone put together a video of his some of his stunts, and I
Mm,
remember listening to an audiobook written by him. I think it was called "Losing My Virginity."
mhm.
Maybe it was when he sold Virgin. Um, I need to probably revisit now
Might
the
have been
book.
The Virgin Way, or he wrote a lot of books. I don't know that Losing My Virginity actually exists in audio version. I think that
Oh,
might be one of the rare books that he wrote, even though it's his most popular, that I have not been able to find on Audible at the very least.
interesting. Let me check here. And
But I do have it right here on the shelf behind me.
that is awesome. Richard Branson. Oh, there's now. Oh, I think it was the Virgin Way, and now there's a Finding My Virginity. I didn't know he wrote that book. That's cool.
That one came later.
Yeah.
So Losing My Virginity was the original, and then Finding My Virginity, I believe he wrote afterwards. And I think it might have been after that that he wrote The Virgin Way. I'm not sure about the order of those last two, but essentially he has been good at sharing what he's gone through and the stories that are such marking points of the success that he's created, not just for himself, but for many others.
Yeah. Oh, I just found the one that I actually listened to. It's called Business Stripped Bare.
Ooh, I
He's
haven't
good
read
with
that.
words, right? He's using like strip, bear, like Bare. Man, guy's good at
Yeah, yeah,
getting
it's
attention.
fantastic.
How about since we're in the topic of books, a book that you have that has really or that you have gone back to the most? How about that one? A
Mm,
book that you have gone back to the most.
there are really a few that come to mind. One of them that really touched me a lot is The Culture Code. That book touches on how to create a safe work environment as a way to be able to still give honest feedback to the staff that's working with you, but really celebrate the wins and really create a culture inside of which people have a true desire to stay and to become intimate as work colleagues. And it goes over a lot of different examples. So that is one that I highly recommend for anyone who collaborates, because at the end of the day, I think that we have the opportunity to choose how we interact with the world, and interacting with love and kindness and encouragement is a lot more fun than constantly cracking the whip on people when they sidestep in the wrong direction. And one book that I am coming back to a lot these days is Traction by Gino Wickman. That one is a lot more of a serious business manual made for business leaders, so typically for CEOs or COOs of slightly larger companies. The lessons in that book around how to lead a tight operation that actually accomplishes what it sets out to accomplish is incomparable to any other forms of education, whether they be books or courses or mentors that I have worked with in order to get that done. It is an incredibly powerful book, and that is probably the one that I revisit the most because it is a little bit more of a textbook, honestly, rather than anecdotal stories. It is one that gives you specific methods to follow to actually track the numbers, to hold people accountable, and to essentially ensure, as I said, that the business is running properly. So everything from weekly meetings and task management and setting priorities for the quarter and quarterly meetings, annual meetings, business plan, everything's in there. And it's extremely well written and easy to follow. And my business has made leaps and bounds since we started working with that one.
And I looked it up on Amazon. Is it by Gino Wickman?
Correct.
It says it's #1 bestseller in the category of entrepreneurship.
I'm not surprised. That has really become my Bible in terms of how to run the business from an operations point of view.
Wow.
It's, it won't teach you much about marketing. He does touch a little bit on marketing, but it's very much no nonsense. This is what you should focus on type of advice.
And you're the third person that brought up that book in the last 2 months. So I'm definitely adding that to my next Audible purchase. We can start closing this amazing conversation, Adal. Maybe sharing how people can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. I would recommend that you connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is Adal Bermann. Also, warmleadstoday.com is our website, and you can book an appointment there. There are, I think those are the two main ways to get in touch with me. Honestly, LinkedIn is great. I love starting there. It's less anonymous. I get to learn a little bit about you. You get to learn a little bit about me. We also host webinars once a month where I have learned that the best thing to do is to actually teach people how to accomplish on LinkedIn a lot of the things that we help our clients with without even having to become a client. It's 1 hour action-packed, straight up advice on these are things that you can do right now that are easy to implement and that will help you get a better return out of your time on LinkedIn. From promoting your content to connecting with more people and starting the right conversations. That is something that if you go over to my LinkedIn profile, Adal Bermann, Adal is the first name, you can easily find the link to register for that webinar, and it'll happen every single month. It's something that I like to do to give back to the community.
Well, thank you, Adal. Everyone watching, listening, if you've got some good takeaways, comment below. And if you want to go even 2 steps further than that, that could impact your future even more, share the takeaways with someone you know. What is something that you can, a way of being or something you can do that you have been inspired by this conversation? And pick up the phone or call or text and say, hey, let's do this. I just got this idea, or I was just inspired to do ... and go ahead and just go for it and start experimenting with the information that you got here today. Thank you so much, Adal. I'm inspired. I am going to be like, hey man, when are you I'm going to be training so that I can in the next few weeks say, hey, I'm ready to go climbing.
All right.
When are you going next? So I'll probably join the local gym. I've heard there are a couple local gyms that I can join and then start getting those what is it, forearm muscles, ligaments.
That's right. Yeah, get those built up. Go out there, have fun. If I want to share anything with the audience today, it's that even though accomplishing the things that we set out to accomplish is very satisfying, at the end of the day, just being able to look back at the life that you're living and feel happy about it, I think is the one main thing that you can do that's going to trickle down the most into everything else. So if that's being in your body and rock climbing, if that's being more genuine with people that you interact with, if that's just taking more time to look into the eyes of your lover, or if to you it means being even more focused at work and actually creating the absolute best results in every task that you take upon. Either way, just showing up as your best self is very much what I like to see more of in this world. And I know with confidence that the universe will reward you for all the beautiful things you do. And holding on to any different story than that really just creates a lot of sadness and paralysis. So let's get up, rise, create beauty, be inspired, and live above the line.
Thank you so much, brother. Inspired by your words. Everyone, follow Adal's advice. Connect with him. And thank you so much again, brother. Have an amazing afternoon. Looking forward to connecting again soon. And till next time, bye for now.
Looking forward to it too.